Hey guys, we're back. Got a little update video for you. We're making some progress with the Falclone. Made some pretty substantial progress with the Falcon. And a lot of it is not stuff that it's really exciting to show while it's in process. So I saved you some of that, but I saved the good stuff for you too. I got some cool things here I need to show you. So one of the things I gotta show you is this right here. This is what we're putting in the car, right? This is LQ4 6.0 iron block, aluminum head. Came out of like a 2004 2500 Sierra van or something. You know, like an HD van. But it's a perfect combination for what we're looking for. So we're gonna be putting some boost in this thing. We need something that's gonna hold up to that. We've got the hooker turbo manifold on this side, right? The cool thing about this hooker kit is you can buy just the passenger side manifold, and that's the one that we really need to do the log style manifold with the collector at the bottom for the other side. So this is going to give us what we need to put the turbo kit together. We're going to have to come up with some piping here, and then we can place our turbo where we want it once it's in the car, and we can kind of test fit stuff out. So as you can see, we already got the motor cleaned up. Things are looking pretty good. We've got to do a few things to it. We're going to file the rings, put a little bit more gap in them so that we're good for some pretty high boost numbers. Probably work the heads a little bit and just do a few things to freshen up the motor. We might do a little honing on it so the rings seat again nice and fresh, and just check it out, right? I got to change the pan. I do have to do that one thing. Because we're running this all-wheel drive setup, this pan is too big and it interferes in the rear section with the front differential. So they make a pan that works. I think Meladon makes the pan for that. So we're gonna have to end up getting that pan, a new pickup for the bottom, do a little bit of work to the engine, then we're gonna clean up and paint it, make it all pretty and all that good stuff before we put it in here. But before that, we're gonna get it fitted into the Falclone. So that's huge, right? So the next thing we got to do is get that engine in this car, sit it in there, and see where our hood clearances are going to come up, or where we could have some hood clearance issues, rather, and also to see where things are going to line up. That's going to help me determine. It's going to help me determine where I put stuff, where this turbo is going to sit, where the support mounts for the front fender supports are going to go. All that stuff is going to work around that engine. So we got to get that engine in the car before we do anything else. So that kind of has halted the progress a little bit. I had to get the engine, had to get a few pieces so I could put the engine in, which are in this box right here. You can see this guy. So we had to get some engine mounts. So this is from Dirty Dingo. This company, I've not used them before, but they got great reviews. People love them. They have some high quality stuff. This is thick, good quality steel here for sure. So these are the motor mounts that work with this all-wheel drive setup. Supposedly they work with all-wheel drive, S10 configurations, Blazers, Bravadas, and the like. Will help us put the LS motor in here, and we can get everything lined up. We're going to attach the 4L60 transmission to the engine, have everything mocked in here like it's going to sit when it's done. On the inside, we got bracing and supports holding things up. Everything is now plumbed and square, and you can see where I've got a plumb here where I'm lining up the center of the engine compartment with the center of the suspension, which we are exactly in the middle of, which works out really well. This is the exact middle of the car. It's the exact middle of the front suspension. So I know that I'm got my placement correct in here. I know that I've got the distance from front to back from the firewall correct. And the wheels and tires lining up perfectly parallel. It took a long time to do. And there's a lot of stuff that I didn't film because it's just tedious. You know, a millimeter here, a centimeter there to get the right placement for everything was just taking forever, and it was kind of boring. So I didn't really film a lot of that. But also what you missed was me filming putting in these brace bars in here, which it really just holds the body to the chassis right now. That's not permanent by any means. I'm going to create body mounts that match up to some of these original body mounts at some point. I'm probably going to do a series of at least 5 mounting points along the way, so 10 total, but I'll do 2 up front, 2 where the front firewall meets the frame. I'll do 2 in the center section, 2 here, and then 2 probably mounting points in the back. Also doing a little wheel fitment back here. I've got a Nitto 275 5015 on a steel wheel, which I think we're going to run, at least for the drag racing. Alright, we're trying to center up our wheel well opening here. And also getting our ride height corrected. So we're trying to get the ride height corrected, but also center up these wheels in the fender well. So we got to get lowered so it fits into this frame, or fits into this body. So you can see I'm holding this straight in front of this as I can. When I lowered it, the geometry changed slightly and it pushed the rear wheel forward. It's like about 1.5 inches this way. So I got to go in and correct that, and I can do that by adjusting these lowering blocks that I have, cutting an angle on them so they're 6 inches tall right now, which is way taller than what I would like to. I'm not going to run them on here, but I'm trying to get the right height set. So that pushes the rear axle up 6 inches, and it does it in one direction. So it does, although it's going up 6 inches, it also changes the angle. So it pushed it forward a little bit based on where the mounts are on the leaf springs. So there's this angle geometry that I have to adjust for. So what I'm going to do is take these blocks off that I have underneath here, and I'm going to cut a angle into them that will adjust out the offset that this thing's pushed to the front, because right now it's so close to the front I can't get a tire in here at all. So I got to come back at least 1 inch, 1.5 inches. Pretty easy to do. It just takes a little bit of math, a little bit of time. So if you're in something like this, you just have to take your time. I drop a plumb line to see how far off how far off I am, and I've got this plumb line matched up to the center point of the fender well, and also I have a marker back here that shows me where the center is. So I'm directly on that, and I can see at least 1.5 inches, maybe a little more than that, maybe a little less, I don't know. But I'll measure that out, and I'll do this with a little compass. So this will give me an angle that I need. So I can kind of adjust this to where this. I'll show you how to do that in a second. All right, so I'm trying to get this block adjusted. And the way I'm going to do it is with this plumb bob here and string. So I've got this string hanging down to give me the precise placement that I want the rear axle to be. So this is the center of the axle, basically where I need it to be. And it gives me an angle line based on where this mounting position is. So I can match up the string angle to the angle of where the spring perch is, and that'll tell me how much of an angle, degree angle, to take off the block so that I'm perpendicular to the spring perch. Makes sense? Probably, maybe a little bit. Going back to 9th grade geometry here a little bit. And this is pretty crude, to be honest, but it works. I don't know if you can see that, but we're trying to just get perpendicular to the drop line. And this is a pretty rough estimate. This is not going to live under the car very long. It's really just for me to get the car stance correct and get the wheel opening, the wheel in the wheel opening at the right placement. so I think I've got pretty close measurement there. But yeah, I just need to move the axle back about 1.5 inches from where it is right now. It's just too far forward, and that block angle has caused it to move forward a little bit, too far forward into the fender well, and causing me some fitment issues here. And so really the next step for me is, once I get the car at the right ride height, I get this axle in the right position by adjusting that block, I can put the wheel and tire combination on, and then I can measure out a certain amount of inches from the center point of the axle to my openings, and then I'll draw a hard line to where I want to cut these openings out, because these have already been cut on the car obviously, but I want to open them up a little bit more to make room for a 26-inch tall tire, to make sure they fit and they contour this tire well before I put my wider fender flares on there as well. So this lines me up here. Move that back. I'll draw my wheel opening moldings. I can cut those out, and that knocks off two big things, right? The stance of the car will be right, and then the wheel openings will also be correct once that happens. And I can start to do some body work on this thing. So, progress. Alright, we got our block out. And I'll show you how I'm adjusting for this angle that we need to cut off there. So there's a slope to these lowering blocks on the top, and that's to adjust for your pinion angle, to get the rear end to sit where it needs to not be throwing off the drive shaft pinion angle. So they have that already built in. What they did not account for is the height of this block throws the wheel forward about 1.5 inches. And we did our drop line earlier, we found our center point, and we also found the angle that we need to adjust this block to, at least the sitting angle for the block. I'll call it the sitting angle, I'm not sure exactly what the seat angle, with our other compass here. So you can see, lining up this side perpendicular to the block gives us our angle, and that's where we need to cut off the bottom of it. So we'll make our marks, make our cuts both sides, and try this again. There we go. She's sitting down, way down, way down. That's what we're talking about right there. Get the blocks under it, get the wheels trimmed up a little bit. Now she's sitting right in the back. Now for the front. We'll start on that next, but I think I got to get an engine in there first before we really know our true ride height. So the back's sitting right, the front's ready to go, and this engine is ready to go in too. So the next video, I think we'll have something pretty cool to show you. At least I'm planning on it. See you next time on Southeast Speed Shop.